Hello and welcome back to our Abilities virtual event number 3. I am your hostess with the mostest, Paul Amadeus Lane. I am a handsome African American in a wheelchair. I know I'm kind of vain, but I had to do that for descriptive purposes. But thank you so much for being with us. If you haven't went to the exhibit halls, you don't know what you're missing out on. You can go in there, and some of our exhibitors, you can actually set up a video meeting with them. Did you know that? That is so awesome. See, we spared no expense with this experience. So we want you to just really just enjoy everything that we have in store here for our amazing event. I want to give a huge shout out before we bring on our very special guest to our captioner, Karen. Hey, Karen. And our ASL interpreter, Ruth Ann. Thank you both so much for your talents and making sure that all members of our communities are well served. Let's talk about nutrition. What is the best way that we can be healthy? What is the best way that we can make sure we're taking in nutrition if we have different pressure sores, UTIs? Well, our next guest is going to talk about that and more. Let's welcome on the beautiful Fatimah. Fatimah, how are you?
Hey, how are you? Good, good.
Great to see you again, Fatimah. And I've been looking forward to this chat because, as you know, when it comes to any form of disability or any challenge that we have, nutrition is so key. And Fatimah, what would you say is the biggest misconception when it comes to just nutrition, spinal cord injury? Just have your thoughts, please.
So I think there are a lot. And I think that the number one thing is that you can't eat foods that you like in order to be healthy. Because a lot of us enjoy a burger and fries. We like tacos. We like cakes, cupcakes, chocolate, whatever. And I think that a lot of people who want to lose weight immediately feel that they can't eat those things, that those things are bad. And we have to go on a strict diet, in order to lose weight. And my philosophy is that it's not fun, right, to do that, and it's not sustainable. It's also not necessary. So a lot of my clients have done diets like keto or fasting or, you know, Weight Watchers, whatever it is. And all of those things are not for people with paralysis. So I think, the success rate is not so great and the sustainability is not so great because it's not made for you. When you are a wheelchair user, you have different calorie needs and things. And so I think that one of the biggest misconceptions is, first of all, that you have to like starve yourself in order to lose weight. Like I hear people who are doing really low calorie diets and it's just not working. And it makes sense why it's not working because you're starving yourself. So there are tons of misconceptions. I think cutting out your favorite foods being a necessity for weight loss is a big one. Um, the idea that you have to eat as little as possible is another misconception. And also I think the trendy diets that are out there, every year there's something new. Last year it was celery. The year before it was like acai. I think in 2015 the goji berries were going to save us all. So every year it's something different, but those trends come and go. The foods that you enjoy, you've probably enjoyed them since you were young. They probably have, a kind of special place, in your life. And I think cultural foods get a bad reputation, like, oh, you can't eat these things because they're not healthy, they're not green smoothies. But the truth is, people that I work with, they want to enjoy their meals. They want to be able to go out to eat. They want to be able to go to their mom or their grandma and eat their favorite cultural foods. But they also want to be able to maintain their muscle mass. They want to be able to do the things that within their capabilities, they're able to do. Like my husband is a C6'7" incomplete quad, right? He could probably use a couple of pounds, but he's not my client. He's my husband, right? So it's a little bit different. I know that if he gained 20 pounds or even 10, it would be hard for him to transfer into the car, independently. It would be hard for him to do his ADLs, right? His activity of daily living on his own. if he gained weight. And I see that a lot in this community, is that people are able to do things in the beginning, but then they gain a lot of weight, and then they can't. So that's super sad. You know what I mean? We don't want that.
Absolutely. And Fatima, we have so many questions that are rolling in from our live audience. You are like just, you know, real popular. And because
Ah,
because this is something that I know, like for me and myself, being a quad for over 28 years, I started off like a little stick. Now I turned into like a, like how you open a can of biscuits and they just go everywhere, that's kind of like what happened to me. So when it comes to just getting the right type of understanding, I think you are really good to be that go-to source, because like you said, your husband is a quad. You're a registered dietitian, you know all these things, so you are a really good resource out there. And Fatima, one of the questions that we're getting right now, it has to do with UTIs.
ah.
And one question is, what should you eat to avoid eating to prevent UTIs?
So I get a lot of questions about UTIs. Now, I'm very much about like scope of practice, right? So I'm a dietitian. The internet is a wild place. People are doing all kinds of stuff. But for me, a UTI is a medical concern, right? There are, I think, some ideas out there about like, oh, if you eat too much sugar, it's going to give you a UTI. So there is no evidence that certain foods will give you a UTI. I have heard kind of wild things, right? The internet, people saying, if I eat acidic food, I get a UTI. That's not true. If you eat acidic food, like for example, if you're sensitive to citrus, you might get bladder spasms, but that doesn't give you a UTI. But sometimes things just happen in the right kind of order where you will think like, oh, I ate an orange and then I got a UTI. And last time I had a UTI, I also ate an orange. But the truth is, UTIs are caused by, bacteria and not having good hygiene. And, I think also it is what it is. It's not easy to kind of, especially if you're on the go, to calf, as frequently as you should. And I do have people in my program who are like, well, I calf at 7 a.m. and then I'm out doing my errands and I don't calf again until like 1 or 2. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a problem. Let's talk about how you can make sure that you're able to calf more frequently. So when it comes to nutrition and UTIs, I think the two big things that people ask me are, about sugar, which there's no evidence that sugar causes UTIs. And the other thing is about cranberry. So cranberry, juices that are out there, most of them are not 100% cranberry, right? And there are some that are 100% cranberry. But do you know how much of that you have to drink in order for it to actually, prevent bacteria from sticking to the walls of your blood? I feel like that stuff is kind of for the birds. We have a very good urologist here for my husband, and he recommends the cranberry pills, the cranberry extract, because they are much more potent, right, than the juice. So my husband takes those. And also, I don't know if you've heard of D-mannose. So that's like another one that people take. But the number one thing I think is coughing frequently and cleanly, like using your antibacterial and doing all of like your due diligence, that you're doing it in a sanitary way. And then also fluid. Like you'd be shocked. I have people who are like, yeah, I don't want to cap, so I just don't drink that much. Well, okay, if you don't drink water, you're not going to flush bacteria from your bladder. So I don't think that there's any evidence out there about foods to prevent UTIs. Nothing that you eat is going to turn your urine more acidic or basic or whatever. Like if our body's pH buffer system was so sensitive, we'd all be dead. Like if you could eat an orange and it would make your pee turn something, like it doesn't, it's not really true. So for the UTIs, my big thing is drink enough, calf, in the most sanitary way possible, and ask your urologist. There's all these different things out there. There's suprapubic catheters. There are different types of, I think, things out there. And I'm sure there's stuff at the expo. I haven't actually checked out the other exhibitors yet, but I'm sure there's some stuff out there in the expo today addressing UTIs as well.
Okay, so Fatima, I'm making my notes for me personally now. So the vodka and cranberry juice will not prevent UTI. Okay, okay. I'll make sure I get my pills in. I'll do that. Here's another question, Fatima, that we're getting. Best diet for someone with ataxia.
Okay. So I don't think that there's a best diet for anything. You know what I mean? I just think that, isn't it funny, right? We're all looking for like, what's the best, right? And I think that's kind of the problem with dieting in general, right? Like, what works for you might not work for somebody else. And so, I mean, if you have any form of paralysis, like ataxia is a very general term. So I don't know if that person is a wheelchair user or, you know, because ataxia could be many different things. I mean, I focus on nutrition for paralysis and spinal cord injury, and my people are 90%, 95% full-time wheelchair users. So I think most people eat too many carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm.
Most people eat too many calories.
Yeah.
Like, this is just nutrition 101.
Yeah.
Most
No.
people don't eat enough vegetables. People don't eat enough whole grains. Um, Surprisingly, because most Americans do get enough protein, but a lot of people in my program don't. And it's not because they're vegetarian or vegan or whatever, although I do have some people like that. It's because like they skip meals, or
Mhm.
they eat cereal for breakfast, or they have a bagel for breakfast. So there's like no protein, it's all carbs. And then maybe for lunch, they'll have peanut butter and jelly. So it's just like, it's not enough protein. So even though you're eating regular meals, a lot of people end up not eating enough protein. So they can't even maintain their current muscle mass post injury, right? So that's a big problem, maintaining muscle mass. And because if you don't maintain your muscle mass, you're not going to burn as many calories, right, at rest. So it's going to tank your metabolism. So the best diet is, first of all, one that works for you, right? I'm not a huge like smoothie person, for example. So like all those trendy diets that are like, oh, drink this juice and drink this smoothie, like it's not going to work for our family. So I think focusing on your real food, right? How many times a week are you ordering takeout? We order takeout every Friday. There's room for it, but it's not Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and I think that with paralysis, any type of paralysis, it comes with its unique challenges
Yeah.
for meal prep and planning. And actually, I recently had a client who has a caretaker and he's pretty recently injured, and he's just like, I can't cook. I'm a quad. And like my caregiver doesn't want to do it. And I'm like, that's part of their job. So
Yeah.
like advocating for yourself, things that you can do versus you can't do. My husband's a quad. He can chop stuff. Not great, but he can do it. This client of mine cannot, right? And he's newly injured. He's figuring out these things. So you got to figure out how you can use what you have. Do you have an accessible kitchen? Do you not? Do you have family help? Do you not? I don't hesitate if my sister-in-laws are here. I'll be like, here, can you just real quick, help me with this? Because it's a family thing. Like we are, my husband is the one who's quadriplegic, but I feel like our family is sort of just like, it's a little bit different, So like my responsibilities with the kids too. We have a almost 3-year-old, almost 5-year-old. It's busy around here, So don't be afraid to ask for help, Rather than my sister-in-law sitting on the couch having a cup of coffee, I'll be like, here, help me load this dishwasher real quick, because that will help me. So what is the best diet for paralysis? Adequate, whole foods, not too many calories, eating enough protein, eating enough fiber, and watching your carbs, and also enjoying yourself. because I do get a lot of people that have done restrictive diets and they lose weight
Mhm.
quickly because, they're restricting. And then after a few weeks or even a few months, they simply cannot
Yeah.
continue. It's too hard. You want to live your life, right? You want to enjoy. I mean, in our family, we love to eat. So I can't imagine being like, for my husband, like, you can't have this. No, you have to eat something different. That's just weird, you know? So a lot of people will lose weight on these restrictive diets and then gain it right back
Mhm.
once they stop. And that's depressing. It makes you feel like you failed. But the truth is, it wasn't for you. So if you're out there and you did a diet, like if you did keto or fasting or slim fast or I don't know, whatever, millions of things, and it didn't work for you, move on because that wasn't engineered for you in the first place.
Yeah, keep it moving. I love that. I love that. Another question, and it kind of goes with you talked about meal prep. And
Mm,
I remember when this pandemic started for myself, I was like a DoorDash, Postmate Gold Platinum member. You know what I mean? So this is a question right here. Tips for a quad to do food prep.
Okay, so convenience items are your friend. I have a private Facebook group for my paralysis nutrition program members. And just yesterday, someone had posted that at Costco, they have like these gigantic bags of like frozen zucchini noodles and like frozen cauliflower rice. And literally, you could either cook it in a pan, you could even microwave it, and so I think looking for convenience items that are healthy is your best bet. In my freezer there's always going to be like frozen turkey burgers, frozen veggie burgers, frozen vegetables galore, because they're already chopped, um, and they're easy, right? And they don't spoil. So I'm very careful when it comes to meal prep and telling people, what they should buy on their grocery list. Only buy the stuff that's fresh that you're going to eat quickly. So, like fruits, we keep some frozen, but really we prefer fresh. But the majority of the vegetables are frozen. And that way there's no excuse. They're always kind of there and you're always restocking them. And frozen proteins as well. So, like, we keep the turkey burgers and we keep the veggie burgers. There's also a lot of vegetarian proteins that we like. And so, meal prep does not have to be what you see on these like bodybuilder sites where it's like 15 containers of like chicken, rice, and broccoli, chicken, rice, and broccoli. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. It could just be like, I cooked, two sheet pan meals, for example, right? Twice this week. And then the other days, I had my frozen kind of convenience items. I'm not talking about like frozen dinners. I'm talking about like your frozen vegetables, your frozen proteins, putting them, these days we have things like the Instant Pot and the air fryer. And I know that those are an investment, but especially if you're a quad,
Yeah.
I think those things would serve you better. Um, than trying to do everything on your own. I have one client who lives on his own. He has spina bifida and he cooks in the Instant Pot like 3 or 4 times a week. And it's just so easy for him, So also a crock pot, you could use that too. So when it comes to meal prep, first of all, plan, right? So get your groceries. That's the first thing. And then decide, all right, I have 2 hours on this Sunday. What am I going to do? And look for some no cook recipes. Like, there are so many things, especially now that it's getting to be summer. Some of my favorite meals are kind of like a no cook situation where it's like lighter things, and you can buy a lot of pre-made things. Just the other day, I was in Target and I saw bags of cooked grilled chicken breast. So easy, I don't go for that, but a lot of people I think could eat a lot healthier if they just planned and thought about it. Because a lot of people don't think about lunch until it's 12 o'clock. This is a problem,
Yeah.
right? Like, you got to help yourself. You have to have some options. And the more I work with people, the more I realize that grocery shopping is like the key. And the great thing, the one good thing I think that came out of the pandemic was that there's so much more curbside pickup. And,
Yes.
for us, I mean, I enjoy grocery shopping, but it's just one more thing to do. So we started doing Instacart pickup. And my husband, who drives and all that on his own, is able to go pick it up. And he just pulls in there in the parking lot in the special spot, and they come out and they put it in. Of course, when he gets home, I help him take it out. But I think these types of things are actually so helpful. And I hope that they stick around, even when we're all good.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Fatima, we got about 6 minutes, so we got a
Oh,
ton of questions. So I'm going to get to them. But before I do, I'm making personal notes for myself too, Fatima.
oh.
No more Swanson and Hungry Man TV dinners. Okay, I got that. All right, here we go,
Well, here's the
Fatima.
thing. I don't know about those because I don't buy them, but you could read the food label, right? And see how many calories, see how much fat, see if there's any, protein in them, because a lot of those are just like pastas and things like that. So read the food label, because sometimes you'll be surprised. There's foods that look really healthy because they're all, packaged all beautiful, and then you'll see that they're not that great. And on the other side, you'll see something that says, "Oh, this is so healthy," and then you'll read it and be like, "Oh, that's kind of legit." So
Yeah, I'm like dating myself. I bet Lou Schomer and David Course knows about the Hungry Man dinners and the Swanson dinners when I was in like elementary school. Those things like full of sodium and everything. So here we go, Fatima. Another question. All right. Has there been any research on benefits of fasting or people with disabilities?
So people with disabilities is a very, very large term. So when it comes to fasting, I don't recommend it for anyone with paralysis, because everyone with paralysis has bowel issues. So if you don't eat and you don't activate your gut, you're going to have a really hard time in the bathroom. I try to stay up on the research as much as I can. There's not that much for spinal cord injury and paralysis when it comes to nutrition. So I actually don't know off the top of my head if there have been studies for people with paralysis. With disabilities, I mean, I'm sure that there are some, but my focus is really just paralysis and wheelchair users.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Fatima, we have time for one more question, then we'll let everybody know how they can connect with you offline, because you have an awesome IG. You and I follow each other. I love them. So here we go. It has to do with elimination, poop.
Ah,
What is the
my
importance?
favorite. Yeah.
What is the importance of elimination, the poopies?
What is the importance? I
Yeah.
mean, you gotta poop, right? Because how do you feel when you don't? It's horrendous. And I think that, I could go on and on about the emotional problems that people have around
Mhm.
bowels. It's something that, Paralysis Nutrition is coming on a year in business. And I don't think I've had one person, not even one, who can, in the beginning, when they start with me, who can say, like, the bowels are so easy. I have no problems whatsoever. So I think that, the importance of going, so you don't feel bloated and so your body's not full of waste. Like, it's literally, poop is waste. And so I do have, some people who are going only like twice a week, and they feel so bloated, and they're taking all these fiber supplements and Miralax and laxatives and Senna, and it's just like you're going twice a week, so all this stuff is not working for you. So I think, the importance of pooping is, one, you got to eliminate, because there's waste in your body. You're going to explode, or your intestines are going to get impacted. Like, you literally will get a bowel impaction. I have had people who have that, where they just didn't poop for the longest time. It can also cause bowel perforation. You can literally tear your bowel because it's so full of stuff. Um, Also, don't you want to poop? Doesn't it feel good to like release? I know like sensation varies with people, but I think everyone feels better after they poop. And I do get people who are like, I go, but I don't feel like I'm empty. And this is all related to gut health, probiotics, prebiotics, eating, healthy foods, managing stress,
Yeah.
especially stress around bowel program. I have so many people that, despite what the stereotypes are out there about people with disabilities, are super successful, living awesome lives. They just happen to have paralysis, usually spinal cord injury. And they're just like, when it comes to my life, I feel okay. But when you talk just about the bowel program and the morning routine, or some people, evening routine, there's a lot of like hidden stress,
That's true. That's true.
frustration, anger, sometimes embarrassment. And I think that we have to sort of normalize it. I mean,
Yeah, and Fatima, all
yeah.
this is amazing. I'm sorry I'm getting a wrap up sign, but I tell you what,
Oh, oh.
have people give people your info, how they can connect with you,
Okay.
so they can, you have some great content. Please share it, please.
Okay, sure. So my website is paralysisnutrition.com, and I'm in the exhibitor in the expo. So Paralysis Nutrition, look me up. I have a cookbook. I also have a coaching program, and I have a free snack guide that if you want to download it, you can go to my booth and figure it out. On Instagram, I am paralysis.nutrition. And on Facebook, also Paralysis Nutrition. So it's pretty much the same everywhere.
I love it, Fatima. Thank you so much for being a
You're
part of
welcome.
this event. I wish we can talk longer, but I get banished to the basement if I don't keep it on time. But thank
That's
you so
okay.
much. Thank you so much, my dear. And
You're welcome.
look forward
Take
to
care.
chatting with
Thank you
you.
so much.
Awesome. You take